Hey there. Tonight, we are stepping into the life of a village healer living on the edge of a deep, ancient forest. Not the fairy tale version with sparkling wands and cackling laughter, but the harsh, quiet reality of a woman who knows the chemistry of plants better than she knows the people in the town. If this kind of slow, methodical storytelling helps you rest, settle in, dim the lights, let your shoulders drop. Let us begin. You are lying in the dark. It is the hour before dawn, that heavy, silent time when the night has lost its absolute blackness, but the sun has not yet touched the horizon. The air in your small cottage is cold. It is a still, sharp cold that settles into the stones of the walls and the packed earth of the floor. You can feel the weight of the wool blanket over you. It is coarse and scratchy against your chin, smelling faintly of sheep and wood smoke. You do not move yet. You lie there, listening to the rhythm of the world around you. There is the sound of your own breathing, slow and steady. There's the creak of the timber beams above you as the house settles in the cooling air. Outside, there is nothing. No birds are singing yet. No carts are moving. The village down the hill is asleep, wrapped in its own silence. You are awake, but you are in no hurry. You know that the day will be long. You know that the work will be hard. So for this moment, you just exist in the warmth of your bed, feeling the straw mattress beneath you. The straw is old. It creates a soft, rustling sound every time you shift your weight. It has compressed over the months, forming a hollow that fits the shape of your body perfectly. You are tired. You are always a little tired. The fatigue is not a sharp pain, but a dull, familiar companion that lives in your bones. It is the feeling of a life spent working with your hands, bending, carrying, grinding, walking. Slowly you decide to rise. You push the heavy wool blanket aside. The cold air hits your skin immediately. It is a shock, but you do not flinch. You are used to this. You swing your legs over the side of the bed, and your feet touch the floor. The floor is hard, packed dirt. It is smooth from years of walking, but it is ice cold. The cold travels up through the soles of your feet, waking you up more effectively than any noise could. You stand up. Your joints are stiff. You stretch your arms, hearing the soft pop of your shoulder, feeling the tightness in your back. You are alone in the room. It is too dark to see clearly, but you do not need to see. You know this room. You know every inch of it. You know exactly where the table stands. You know exactly where the drying racks hang from the ceiling. You know the distance from the bed to the hearth by the number of steps. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. You reach the hearth. It is the heart of your home. It is a wide stone structure that takes up most of one wall. Last night, before you slept, you banked the fire. You covered the glowing coals with a thick layer of gray ash to keep them alive. Now, you kneel on the cold floor in front of the hearth. You can feel a faint warmth radiating from the pile of ash. You reach for the iron poker leaning against the stones. The metal is cold and rough in your hand. You gently scrape away the top layer of ash. You move slowly. You do not want to smother the fire. You want to wake it up. Under the gray dust, you see a faint orange glow. It is dim, like a sleeping eye. You lean forward. You bring your face close to the embers. You can smell the ash. It is a dry, powdery smell, ancient and clean. You take a deep breath and blow gently on the coals. A tiny spark dances upward. The orange glow brightens, turning a deep, angry red for a second, then fading back. You blow again. Long, steady breaths. You feed the fire with your own air. You watch the color shift from dull gray to vibrant orange. It is a chemical reaction, though you do not call it that. You know that fire needs air, just as you need air. You know that fire needs food, just as you need food. You reach for the small basket of kindling you prepared last night. Dried twigs, strips of birch bark, old heather. You place a piece of birch bark onto the glowing coals. You wait. You wait. You wait. The bark curls. It smokes. Thin white smoke rises up the chimney, smelling of sweet wood. Then, with a small pop, a yellow flame catches the edge of the bark. It licks at the wood, hungry and bright. The light from the flames spills out into the room, casting long, dancing shadows against the stone walls. You add another twig, then another. The fire begins to crackle. The sound is comforting. It is the sound of safety. It is the sound of life returning to the house. You hold your hands out to the flame, rubbing your palms together. The heat seeps into your skin, chasing away the chill of the morning. Your hands are rough. The skin is dry and stained with the green juice of plants and the brown earth of the garden. These are working hands. You stand up slowly. Now that the fire is lit, you can see your home. It is a workspace. It is a laboratory, though you do not know that word. From the wooden rafters above your head, bundles of dried herbs hang like strange, fragrant stalactites. There is sage, its leaves gray and velvet soft, tied with twine. There is rosemary, brittle and sharp, smelling of pine and pepper. There is yarrow, with its flat, dusty flowers. There is mugwort, heavy and bitter. The air in the cottage is thick with their scent. It is a complex smell. It smells of dust and summer fields. It smells of medicine and earth. It smells of time. You walk to the wooden table in the center of the room. The wood of the table is scarred and stained. There are ring marks from hot pots. There are deep scratches from knives. There are dark stains where juices have soaked into the grain. On the table sits your mortar and pestle. They are made of heavy, dark stone. They are the most important tools you own. You run your hand over the rim of the mortar. It is smooth, polished by years of grinding. Beside it lies a small knife with a wooden handle, worn smooth by your grip. You are thirsty. You walk to the water barrel in the corner. You dip a wooden ladle into the water. The water is still and dark. You lift the ladle to your lips and drink. The water tastes of the wood of the barrel and the stone of the well. It is cold and flat, but it clears the dryness from your throat. It is time to dress. You do not have many clothes. You do not need many. You take off your sleeping shift and pull on a linen under tunic. The fabric is cool and stiff against your skin. Over this, you pull on your wool dress. It is dyed a deep faded brown, the color of wet oak bark. It is heavy. The weight of it settles on your shoulders, a familiar burden. You tie a leather belt around your waist. The leather is old, cracked in places, but strong. From the belt, you hang a small pouch. Inside the pouch are your essentials: a small knife, a length of twine, a piece of flint. You sit on a low stool to put on your boots. The leather is stiff from the cold. You have to work your foot in, pushing and wiggling your toes until they settle. You lace them up tight. The laces are rough strips of rawhide. You pull them until the boots feel secure against your ankles. You are ready. You pick up a woven basket from near the door. It is made of willow branches, twisted and bent into shape. It is light and sturdy. You open the door of your cottage. The hinges groan, a low metal complaint that echoes in the quiet morning. You step out. The air outside is different. Inside, the air was still and smelled of herbs and smoke. Outside, the air is alive. It is wet and heavy with mist. The mist clings to everything. It wraps around the trees, softening their outlines. It hangs over the ground like a white blanket. You can taste the moisture in the air. It tastes clean. It tastes of wet grass and damp soil. You close the door behind you. The latch clicks shut. You stand for a moment on the threshold, looking out at the world. To your left is the path that leads down to the village. You can see the dark shapes of the other houses, huddled together. No smoke rises from their chimneys yet. They are still sleeping. They are still dreaming. To your right is the forest. The forest is a wall of trees. Ancient oaks with gnarled, twisting branches. Tall pines that stand like sentinels. Dense thickets of hazel and hawthorn. The forest is dark, even as the sky begins to lighten. It is deep and vast. You turn to the right. You turn toward the trees. You begin to walk. Your boots crunch on the gravel path. The sound is loud in the silence. Crunch, step, crunch, step. You walk with a steady, rhythmic pace. You do not rush. You never rush. Nature does not rush, and you are a student of nature. The path narrows as you approach the tree line. The gravel gives way to soft, wet earth. The sound of your footsteps changes. It becomes softer, a dull thud against the ground. The grass here is long and wet with dew. The hem of your wool dress drags against the grass, soaking up the water. You can feel the dampness seeping into the fabric, making it heavy around your ankles. You enter the forest. The light changes instantly. The canopy of leaves above you filters the gray morning light, turning it into a dim green twilight. The air is cooler here. It smells intensely of pine needles and rotting leaves. It is the smell of decomposition and life mixed together. You walk deeper. You know this forest as well as you know your own kitchen. You know which trees have roots that snake across the path, waiting to trip the careless walker. You know which patch of ground stays muddy even in the summer. You know where the deer sleep. You are looking for something specific today. You are not just walking. You are hunting. But you are not hunting for meat. You are hunting for medicine. Your eyes scan the ground. You are looking for shapes. You are looking for textures. You pass a patch of ferns, their fronds curled tight like the heads of violins. You pass a rotting log covered in bright green moss. The moss looks soft, like velvet, but you know it is wet and cold. You stop. There, at the base of a large oak tree, you see what you are looking for. It is a small plant, unassuming to the untrained eye. It has jagged, dark green leaves and a thick, woody stem. Most people would walk past it. They would see a weed. They would see nothing. You see a cure for pain. You kneel down on the wet ground. The damp earth soaks into the knees of your dress immediately. You do not mind. You are part of this landscape. You set your basket down beside you. You reach out and touch the leaves. They are cool and slightly fuzzy. You run your thumb along the edge of a leaf. You feel the texture. You are checking its health. Is it brown? Is it eaten by insects? No. It is strong. It is vibrant. You take your small knife from your belt. You do not hack at the plant. You are careful. You need the root, but you do not want to destroy the entire patch. You dig into the soil around the base of the stem. The earth is cold and dense. It gets under your fingernails. It is black, rich soil, full of nutrients from generations of fallen leaves. You can smell the dirt. It is a raw, mineral smell. You loosen the soil. You gently pull. You feel the resistance of the roots holding on to the earth. You pull steadily. Pull, hold, pull. With a soft tearing sound, the root comes free. It is thick and pale, looking like a knobby finger. You shake the loose dirt from it. You bring it to your nose. It smells bitter. It smells sharp. It smells powerful. You place the root in your basket. You cover the hole you made with soil. You pat it down. You leave no scar on the forest floor. You take only what you need. You stand up. Your knees crack. You pick up the basket. You continue walking. The forest is waking up now. You hear the rustle of a squirrel in the branches high above. You hear the call of a crow, harsh and grating. Caw, caw. You walk further. You are looking for the willow trees now. They grow near the water, where the ground is marshy. You can hear the sound of the stream before you see it. It is a low, gurgling sound. Water moving over stones. Water flowing, never stopping. You reach the stream. The water is gray and fast-moving. The banks are lined with willow trees. Their branches hang down low, sweeping the surface of the water like long hair. The willow is important. The bark of the willow contains the heat breaker. It contains the painkiller. You approach a young tree. You run your hand over the bark. It is smooth and gray, with diamond-shaped patterns. You need the inner bark. You need the living layer. You select the branch. It is about as thick as your thumb. You use your knife to make a cut. The wood is soft. The knife bites in easily. You peel back a strip of bark. Beneath the gray outer layer, the wood is white and slippery. It is wet with sap. This is the medicine. You strip a long piece of bark. It makes a wet peeling sound as it comes away from the wood. Peel, strip, peel. The smell is distinctive. It is bitter and astringent. It smells like aspirin, though that word will not exist for hundreds of years. To you, It simply smells like relief. It smells like the end of a fever. You gather a handful of these bark strips. They are slimy to the touch. You place them in your basket, keeping them separate from the roots. You stand by the stream for a moment. You watch the water flow. You feel the cold air on your face. You are alone, but you are not lonely. You have a purpose. You have a skill. The village fears you a little, and they need you a lot. They do not understand what you do. They think you whisper to spirits. They think you bargain with shadows, but you know the truth. You are just a woman standing in the mud, holding a basket of wet bark. You are observing the world. You are testing. You are remembering. You remember that the willow bark reduces swelling. You remember that the root you dug up helps with sleep. You remember because your mother told you, and her mother told her, and her mother told her. It is a chain of memory, stretching back into the deep past. A chain of women standing in forests, getting their hands dirty, learning what kills and what cures. You turn away from the stream. Your basket is heavy enough for this morning. It is time to return. The walk back feels shorter. You are following your own tracks in the dew. The sun has risen higher now. The light in the forest is stronger. Shafts of pale yellow sunlight pierce through the canopy, illuminating dancing motes of dust and pollen in the air. You step out of the tree line and back onto the gravel path. The village is waking up. You can see smoke rising from the chimneys now, thin, gray columns ascending into the still air. You can hear the faint sound of a dog barking. You can hear the distant clang of metal on metal. The blacksmith is awake. You walk up the path to your cottage. The door is as you left it. You lift the latch and step inside. The warmth of the room hits you. The fire you lit has grown. It has heated the stones of the hearth, and the stones are radiating that heat back into the room. It smells of the burning birchwood and the drying herbs. You set your basket on the table. You rub your cold hands together. Now, the real work begins. You take the willow bark from the basket. You lay the strips out on the table. They're still wet with sap. You need to prepare them. You need to chop them. You take your knife. You begin to cut the bark into small squares. Chop, slide, chop, slide. The rhythm is hypnotic. You focus entirely on the blade and the bark. You are careful not to cut your fingers. The pile of chopped bark grows. It looks like a pile of wood chips, unassuming and plain. But you know the power locked inside those fibers. You sweep the chopped bark into the mortar. You pick up the heavy stone pestle. You begin to grind. It is not a fast process. The bark is fibrous and tough. You have to lean your weight into it. You press down and twist. Grind. Twist. Grind. Twist. The sound of stone on stone is loud in the quiet room. It is a grinding, scraping sound. You can feel the vibration of it in your hand, traveling up your arm to your shoulder. Grind. Twist. Grind. Twist. You do this for a long time. You do not rush. You watch the bark break down. It turns from chips into a fibrous pulp. The smell becomes stronger. The bitter scent fills the air around the table. Your arm begins to ache. A dull burn in your muscle. You welcome it. It tells you that you are working. It tells you that you are making something useful. You stop for a moment to rest your hand. You look out the small window of your cottage. You can see a figure walking up the path toward your door. It is a neighbor, a young woman. She is walking slowly, holding her side. She looks pale. You do not need to ask why she is here. You can see the pain in the way she moves. You can see the fever in the flush of her cheeks. You do not feel fear. You do not feel annoyance. You feel a quiet readiness. You look at the pulp in your mortar. You look at the fire in your hearth. You have what she needs. You wipe your hands on your apron. You walk to the door. You open it before she knocks. You speak softly to her. Come in. Sit by the fire. And so your first day begins. She steps inside. You close the heavy wooden door behind her. The iron latch clicks into place. It is a sharp metallic sound that cuts off the wind from the outside world. The room becomes still again. The only sound is the low crackle of the peat fire in the center of the room and the slightly labored breathing of the young woman. She sits on the three-legged stool near the hearth. She moves carefully. It is as if her joints are made of glass. You watch her. You do not ask her what is wrong. You do not need to ask. You have seen this posture 1,000 times. You have seen the way her shoulders curve inward to protect the heat of her chest. You have seen the way her eyes look glazed, focusing on nothing in particular, staring into the orange heart of the embers. It is a fever. It is a deep ache in the bones. It is the damp cold of the season settling into the body. You walk to the wall where your dried herbs hang. The bunches of plants are suspended from the rafters by twine. They look like the ghosts of a summer garden. They are brown and brittle now. They rustle softly as you walk past them, disturbed by the movement of the air. You reach up. Your fingers brush against the dry, crinkly leaves of sage. You bypass the sage. You bypass the dried nettle. You are looking for the willow bark. You find the bundle. It is heavier than the others. The strips of bark are long and curled. They look like dried skin. They are gray on the outside and a reddish-brown on the inside. You untie the loop of twine. You take 3 strips of the bark. You retie the bundle. You do not rush. There is no need to rush. The fever has been there for hours. It will wait for the water to boil. You place the strips of bark into the stone mortar. You pick up the pestle. It is heavy in your hand. It is made of smooth river stone worn down by years of grinding. You begin to work. You press the stone down onto the bark. The dry wood splinters. You grind in a slow circular motion. You scrape the stone against the stone. The sound is rhythmic. It is a dry, rough sound like stone rubbing against bone. You work the pestle around the bowl of the mortar. You crush the fibers of the wood. You are releasing the medicine trapped inside the hard cellulose. A smell begins to rise from the mortar. It is not a sweet smell. It is not like the smell of flowers or baking bread. It is a bitter smell. It smells of tannins. It smells of the deep forest floor. It smells of astringent earth. It is the smell of relief, but it is a sharp medicinal relief. You stop grinding. The bark is now a coarse powder mixed with small splinters of wood. It is ready. You turn to the fire. The iron pot is already hanging on the hook, suspended over the glowing peat. The water inside is hot, but it is not boiling. You take a ladle of water and pour it over the bark in the mortar to rinse the powder loose. Then you pour the mixture into a smaller clay pot. You set this smaller pot near the fire. You wait. Cooking medicine is mostly waiting. You stand by the hearth. You feel the warmth of the fire on your shins. You feel the coolness of the draft on your back. You watch the surface of the liquid in the clay pot. At first the surface is still. Then small bubbles begin to form at the edges. They cling to the side of the pot like tiny pearls. You watch them. One bubble detaches and floats to the surface. Then another. Steam begins to rise. It curls up in thin white ribbons. The steam carries the scent of the willow into the room. It mixes with the smell of the smoke. It makes the air feel thick and safe. The young woman on the stool shifts her weight. She sighs. It is a heavy, wet sigh. She holds her hands out toward the fire. Her fingers are pale. You can see the dirt under her fingernails. You can see the rough calluses on her palms. She works hard. Everyone works hard. The body wears down. You are here to patch it up so she can work again. The liquid is simmering now. It is a dark, murky brown. You take a thick cloth to protect your hand. You lift the clay pot from the heat. You pour the liquid through a piece of clean linen into a mug. The linen catches the splinters of wood. The dark tea flows through. You hand the mug to the woman. She takes it with both hands. She holds it close to her face, letting the steam warm her nose and her eyes. She breathes in the bitter steam. She knows this smell. She has drunk this tea before. Her mother drank it. Her grandmother drank it. Drink, you say softly. She lifts the cup. She takes a small sip. Her face twists slightly. The taste is incredibly bitter. It dries the tongue. It puckers the inside of the cheeks. But she does not complain. She knows that the bitterness is the strength of the medicine. If it were sweet, it would do nothing. She drinks more. She swallows the hot, dark liquid. You watch her throat move. You watch the tension in her shoulders begin to drop. It is too soon for the medicine to work on her blood, but the heat of the water and the comfort of being cared for work instantly. She finishes the cup. She hands it back to you. The ceramic is still warm where her hands held it. She stands up. She looks at you. She nods. She does not say thank you. Words are not always necessary. The nod is enough. She pulls her shawl tighter around her shoulders. She turns to the door. You open the heavy timber door for her. The gray light of the morning spills in. The cold air rushes in. It swirls around your ankles. She steps out into the chill. You watch her walk down the path. She is still walking slowly, but she's walking straighter. She will go home. She will lie down. She will sleep. The willow bark will thin her blood and cool her heat. She will wake up tomorrow and she will work again. You close the door. You slide the latch. You are alone again. You walk back to the table. You look at the empty mug. There are dregs of brown powder at the bottom. You pick up the mug. You dip it into a bucket of water. You scrub the inside with a rough cloth. The water in the bucket turns slightly brown. You rinse the mug. You place it upside down on the wooden shelf to dry. The morning is passing. The light coming through the small window is changing. It is becoming brighter. It is becoming sharper. The sun is climbing higher. It burns off the morning mist. You realize that your supply of willow bark is low. You use the last good strips for the neighbor. You need to gather more, and you need other things. The jar of dried nettle is half empty. The supply of yarrow is running low. It is time to go out. You prepare yourself for the forest. This is a ritual in itself. It is a series of movements you have performed every day for 20 years. First, you check the fire. You take the iron poker and push the blocks of peat together. You want them to smolder slowly while you are gone. You do not want them to burn away quickly. You cover the red embers with a layer of gray ash. This will keep the heat in. It will put the fire to sleep until you return. Next, you go to the peg by the door. You take down your cloak. It is made of heavy, scratchy wool. It is dyed a dark green. It is the color of moss in shadow. It smells of wood smoke and rain. You swing it around your shoulders. The weight of it is familiar. It settles on you like a second skin. You fasten the clasp at your throat. The clasp is made of iron. It feels cold against your skin. You sit on the stool to put on your boots. The leather is old and stiff. It has been oiled many times with animal fat to keep the water out. You pull the boots on. They are tight around the calves. You tie the leather laces. You pull them tight. You knot them securely. Your feet feel encased. Your feet feel protected. You stand up. You pick up your basket. The basket is woven from willow branches. It is the same willow that you just brewed into tea. It is oval-shaped and deep. It has a sturdy handle that has been polished smooth by the grip of your hand. Inside the basket, you place a small knife. The handle is bone. The blade is iron kept sharp on a whetstone. You also pack a small cloth sack for delicate leaves and a piece of hard bread for your hunger. You are ready. You open the door again. The air greets you. It is crisp. It tastes of pine needles and damp earth. You step over the threshold. You step onto the hard-packed dirt of the path. You walk past your small garden. The garden is sleeping for the winter, but there are still shapes under the frost. You see the skeletons of the bean poles. You see the low mounds where the root vegetables are hidden. You do not stop here. Today, you are going further. You are going to the edge of the woods. You walk through the village. It is quiet. The men are in the fields. The women are in the houses or by the river. You see a few chickens scratching in the dirt. They cluck softly, bobbing their heads. A dog lies in the sun near the blacksmith shed. It lifts its head to watch you pass. Then it lays it back down on its paws. You are a part of this landscape. You are as much a part of the village as the well or the old oak tree. People see you, but they do not stare. You are the woman who lives at the edge. You are the one who knows the names of the plants. You reach the edge of the village. The houses become fewer. The road becomes narrower. It turns from a cart track into a footpath. The trees begin to close in around you. You enter the forest. The light changes instantly. The open brightness of the sky is filtered through the canopy of branches. Even in winter, with the leaves gone from the deciduous trees, the forest feels enclosed. The evergreens stand like dark sentinels. The pines and the firs block the wind. They hold the silence. The ground under your boots changes. It is no longer hard-packed dirt. It is soft. It is covered in layers of decaying leaves and pine needles and moss. Your footsteps become silent. You walk with a different rhythm here. In the village, you walk with purpose to get from one place to another. In the forest, you walk with awareness. You walk slowly. You scan the ground. You scan the brush. You breathe in deeply. The air here is different. It is richer. It is full of oxygen and the scent of resin. It clears your head. The smell of the sick room falls away. The smell of the smoke falls away. The smell of the village falls away. Here there is only the clean, indifferent scent of nature. You are looking for the white willow. It grows near the water. You head towards the stream that cuts through the lower part of the woods. You walk down a small slope. The ground is slippery here with damp leaves. You place your feet carefully. You use the roots of the trees as steps. You reach out and touch the rough bark of a pine tree to steady yourself. Your hand comes away sticky with resin. You rub your fingers together. The sap is tacky and smells sharp. You hear the water before you see it. It is a low gurgle. The stream is not frozen yet. There is ice at the edges. You reach the bank. The water is black and clear, rushing over gray stones. And there they are, the willows. They lean over the water as if they are thirsty. Their branches are long and yellow-green. They hang down like hair. They look sad and beautiful. You approach the nearest tree. You are not going to kill the tree. You never take too much. You only take what the tree can spare. You look for a branch that is about as thick as your thumb. It should be a younger branch. The bark should be smooth and potent. You find one. You reach up. You take the branch in your left hand. You take your knife in your right hand. You make a cut. The knife bites into the wood. The wood is soft. You slice diagonally. The branch comes free. You hold it in your hand. It is cold and damp. Now you must strip the bark. You sit on a large dry rock by the stream. You lay the branch across your lap. You use the knife to make a long slit down the length of the branch. You are careful not to cut too deep. You only want the bark. You do not want the wood underneath. You put the knife down. You use your thumbs to pry the bark away from the white inner wood. It peels off in a long, satisfying strip. It makes a slight tearing sound. The inside of the bark is slippery. It is wet with the lifeblood of the tree. This is where the medicine lives. In the sap, in the cambium. You peel another strip. And another. You discard the white inner wood, tossing it onto the forest floor. It will rot and feed the soil. You place the strips of bark into your basket. They curl up almost immediately. You harvest 3 branches. It takes time. You do not rush. You listen to the water flowing over the stones. You listen to the wind moving in the tops of the pine trees. It sounds like a distant ocean. Your hands are cold now. The dampness of the wood and the chill of the air have seeped into your fingers. You rub them together. You blow warm breath into your cupped hands. You stand up. You have enough willow for now, but the basket is not full. You look around. You wonder what else is offering itself today. You walk away from the stream, moving deeper into the shadows of the pines. You are looking for something green. Most of the forest is brown and gray, but there are survivors. You see a patch of moss on a fallen log. It is a brilliant, shocking green. It looks soft like velvet. You touch it. It is wet and spongy. It springs back when you lift your finger. You do not need moss today, but you acknowledge it. You pat the log gently. You are looking for pine resin. It is good for salves. It draws out infection. It seals wounds. You look at the trunks of the great pine trees. You are looking for a wound in the bark. You look for a place where a branch is broken off or an animal has scratched the tree. You find a large pine with a gash in its side. The tree has bled to heal itself. The resin has oozed out and hardened into golden lumps. They look like amber jewels stuck to the bark. You take your knife again. You carefully pry the hardened resin from the tree. It is brittle. It snaps off with a sharp cracking sound. It is sticky. It clings to the knife blade. You scrape it into the small cloth sack in your basket. You take several lumps. The smell is intense. It is the concentrated essence of the tree. It smells of midwinter and clean, sharp cold. You walk on. You walk for a long time. You are not just gathering. You are patrolling. You are checking the health of the forest. You notice a fox trail in the snow. You notice where a deer has rubbed its antlers against a sapling. It has stripped the bark. You notice a growth of shelf mushrooms on a dying birch tree. They are hard and woody. They are shaped like hooves. You weave them. They are tinder fungus. They are good for starting fires, but you have enough at home. You feel a hunger in your stomach. It is a slow, dull ache. It is time to eat your bread. You find a stump that is relatively dry. You brush off the snow. You sit down. You open your basket and take out the piece of hard bread. It is dark rye bread. It is dense and heavy. It was baked 3 days ago. The crust is very hard. You take a bite. You have to chew hard. The bread resists your teeth. It tastes slightly sour from the sourdough starter. It tastes of grain and salt. It is simple food. You chew slowly, letting the saliva soften the dry crumbs. You eat in silence. You are alone, but you are not lonely. This is your office. This is your cathedral. The tall, straight trunks of the trees are the pillars. The interweaving branches are the roof. The light filtering down is the stained glass. You finish the bread. You brush the crumbs from your lap. A small bird flits down from a branch. It is a chickadee. It lands on the ground near your feet. It hops closer looking for the crumbs. It is round and fluffy. It is a tiny ball of feathers against the cold. It moves with jerky, quick motions. You stay very still. You watch it peck at the crumbs. It looks at you with a black bead-like eye. Then, in a blink, it is gone. It flies back up into the safety of the trees. You stand up. Your knees are stiff from the cold. You pick up your basket. It is a little heavier now. You have the willow. You have the resin. It is a good morning of work. You turn back towards the village. The walk back is always faster. You know the way. You follow your own footprints in the frost. You retrace your path up the slope away from the stream, through the pines, and back to the edge of the wood. As you emerge from the tree line, the light hits you. It is the flat, white light of midday. The village is ahead of you. Smoke rises from 20 chimneys, straight up into the still air. You see the church tower in the distance. It is square and gray. You walk down the path to your cottage. You can see the roof thatched with straw that has turned gray with age. You can see the small garden gate. You open the gate. It creaks. You walk to the door. You open it. The warmth of the cottage hits you. It is a physical wall of heat compared to the outside. It smells of the peat fire and the faint lingering bitterness of the willow tea you made earlier. You step inside. You close the door. You lock the world out again. You place the basket on the wooden table. You unclasp your cloak. It falls from your shoulders heavy and damp. You hang it on the peg. You sit down on the stool to unlace your boots. Your fingers are clumsy with the cold. You fumble with the leather knots. Finally, you loosen them. You pull your feet out. You wiggle your toes in your wool stockings. The blood begins to flow back into them, tingling and prickling. You walk to the table. You look at your harvest. The strips of willow bark lie curled in the basket. The pine resin sits in the cloth sack. Now the processing begins. You cannot leave the bark in the basket. It will mold. It must be dried. You take the strips of willow. You walk to the drying rack near the fire. It is a simple wooden frame with lattice work. You lay the strips of bark out on the wood. You arrange them so they are not touching. Air must circulate around each piece. You smooth them out with your fingers. The bark is still cool and damp. You can feel the moisture in it. Over the next few days, the heat of the fire will draw that moisture out. The bark will curl tighter. It will become hard and brittle. It will turn into medicine that can be stored for years. You take the pine resin. This does not need to be dried. It needs to be cleaned. You tip the golden lumps onto the table. There are bits of tree bark and dirt stuck to the sticky surface. You sit down. You take a small sharp tool. You begin to pick the debris out of the resin. It is slow work. It is meticulous work. You focus entirely on the golden lump in your hand. You pick out a speck of dirt. You pick out a splinter of wood. The resin warms up slightly from the heat of your hand. It becomes tackier. It sticks to your skin. The room is quiet. The fire snaps softly. You are working. You are preparing. You are the keeper of the chemistry. You work for an hour, maybe two. Time is measured by the pile of clean resin growing on the left and the pile of debris growing on the right. When the resin is clean, you put it into a small ceramic jar. You place a lid of waxed linen over the top and tie it with a string. You place the jar on a shelf next to a jar of dried calendula petals and a jar of beeswax. You look at your hands. They are sticky with resin. They are stained brown from the bark. You look at your fingernails. There is dirt under them. This is the mark of your trade. You do not have the soft white hands of the merchant's wife. You have the hands of the earth. You stand up and stretch. Your back cracks. It is afternoon now. The light in the window is shifting again. It is time to turn your attention to the other part of your life. The part that sustains you when the medicine does not pay. You need to brew. You walk over to the corner of the hut where the brewing equipment sleeps. It is a different kind of magic here. The medicine requires silence and precision, but the brewing requires muscle and patience and heat. It is a heavier work. It is the work that fills the belly and dulls the mind. You start with the vessel. It is a large copper cauldron that hangs near the hearth. It is dull from the smoke of the fire. You take a handful of clean river sand and a rag. You begin to scour the inside of the copper. You rub the sand against the metal in slow circular motions. The sound is rough and scratching. It is a sound like dry leaves blowing over stone. You scour until the copper begins to gleam underneath the tarnish. You scour until your arm burns from the effort. Cleanliness is the secret to good ale. You do not know why exactly, but you know that ale made in a dirty pot turns sour and makes the belly sick. So you scrub. You scrub until the metal reflects the dim light of the fire like a dark mirror. Now you must fetch the water. The water for the medicine came from the rainbow, but the water for the ale must be fresh and sweet. You take 2 wooden buckets. They are heavy even when they are empty. The staves are bound with iron bands that have rusted to a deep orange color. You walk out of the door. The air outside is warmed slightly, but it is still crisp. The mud of the path sucks at your boots. You walk to the village well. It is not far, but it feels far when you think of the weight you must carry. You lower the bucket into the dark shaft. The rope burns your palms as it slides through them. You hear the splash far below. You wait for the bucket to fill. You feel the weight increase on the line. You begin to pull, hand over hand. The wet rope is cold and slick. You pull the water up from the dark earth. You fill your carrying buckets. You walk back to the hut. The water sloshes rhythmically against the wood. The handles dig into your palms. Your shoulders pull down. You reach the hut and pour the water into the cauldron. It makes a hollow splashing sound. You turn around. You walk back to the well. You do this again and again and again. You walk. You lower the rope. You pull. You carry. You pour. You walk. You lower the rope. You pull. You carry. You pour. Your body falls into the rhythm of the labor. You do not think about the distance. You do not think about the weight. You simply move. You are a machine of bone and muscle. The cauldron fills slowly. When it is full, the surface of the water is still and dark. You stoke the fire. You add the larger logs, now the ones that burn long and hot. Oak and ash. The wood groans as the flames lick at the bark. You meet a strong heat. You push the cauldron over the flames on its iron hook. Now you must wait for the water to heat. While the water heats, you prepare the grain. You go to the sack of malted barley in the corner. It is a heavy sack made of coarse burlap. You untie the string at the top. The smell hits you immediately. It is a sweet, dusty smell. It smells of harvest fields and dry sun and earth. It is a smell that promises fullness. You take a wooden scoop and transfer the grain into a large wooden tub. The grain creates a soft hissing sound as it slides from the scoop into the tub. A fine dust rises into the air. It dances in the shafts of light coming through the window. You breathe it in. It tastes dry on the back of your throat. You sneeze. You check the water. It is not boiling yet. It must not boil. If the water is too hot, it kills the spirit of the grain. If it is too cold, the sugar will not wake up. You dip your finger into the water quickly. It bites your skin with heat, but it does not scald. It is ready. You begin the mashing. You use a ladle to transfer the hot water into the tub with the grain. The steam rises up into your face. It is a wet, warm cloud. The smell changes instantly. The dry, dusty smell of the barley becomes heavy and cloying. It smells like warm porridge. It smells like comfort. You take your mashing stick. It is a long pole of ash wood polished smooth by years of use. You plunge it into the thick mixture. You stir. The mash is heavy. It resists you. You push the stick through the wet grain. You pull it back. You push it through. You pull it back. Your shoulders ache from the water carrying, and now they burn from the stirring. The room fills with humidity. The air becomes thick and sticky. You can feel the moisture gathering on your forehead. You can feel your hair sticking to the back of your neck. The windows of the hut fog over. The world outside disappears. There is only you, the fire, and the mash. You stir until the mixture is smooth and thick. You cover the tub with a heavy woolen blanket to keep the heat in. Now the grain must sleep. It must sit in the warmth and change. The starch must become sugar. This is a silent magic. You cannot see it happening. You can only trust that it is happening. While the mash sleeps, you prepare the groot. You do not use the mops that the merchants are starting to bring from the east. You use the old herbs, the herbs of the forest. You take a handful of dried bog myrtle. You take a handful of yarrow. You take a sprig of wild rosemary. You place them in the mortar. You crush them gently. The smell is sharp and resinous. It cuts through the heavy sweetness of the malt. This will keep the ale from spoiling. This will give it the bitter taste that sits pleasantly on the tongue. An hour passes, maybe two. You check the mash. You lift the blanket. The heat wafts up smelling sweeter than before. You dip a finger in and taste the liquid. It is sweet like honey. The magic has worked. The starch has turned to sugar. Now begins the hardest part. You must separate the liquid from the grain. You place a large basket lined with straw over the cauldron. You scoop the wet, heavy mash into the basket. The sweet liquid, the wort, drips through the straw and into the copper pot. It drips slowly. Drip, drip. It sounds like rain on a roof. The wet grain is heavy. You scoop and strain. Scoop and strain. The steam is relentless. Your tunic is damp with sweat. Your arms are tired, but you do not stop. You cannot stop. If the wort cools too much, the brew will fail. When all the liquid is in the cauldron, you add the herbs. You stoke the fire again. You need a boil now. A rolling, angry boil. You feed the fire more wood. The flames roar. The liquid in the pot begins to move. Bubbles rise to the surface. Steam billows up, filling the rafters. The smell changes again. The sharp scent of the herbs mixes with the sweet malt. It smells like a damp forest floor in summer. You stand by the fire. You watch the boil. You skim the foam from the top with a wooden spoon. You flick the foam into the fire. It hisses as it hits the embers. You stand and watch. The heat from the fire presses against your legs. The heat from the steam presses against your face. You are encased in warmth. You let it boil for a long time. You watch the level of the liquid drop slightly as the water turns to steam. You are concentrating the flavor. You are concentrating the strength. Finally, it is done. You use a heavy cloth to protect your hands, and you swing the cauldron away from the fire. You must cool it now. You cannot put the yeast in while it is hot, or the yeast will die. You ladle the hot liquid into shallow wooden pans. The pans are wide to let the heat escape. You wait. The afternoon is wearing on. The light in the room is turning orange as the sun begins to dip. When the liquid is cool milk warm, not blood warm, you go to your shelf. You take down a special stick. It is a piece of oak with many rings and grooves carved into the end. It looks like a strange wooden flower. This is your magic stick. It is not truly magic, but it holds the yeast from the last brew. The yeast lives in the cracks of the wood. It is sleeping there, waiting for the sugar. You stir the cool liquid with the stick. You swirl it around. You are waking the yeast. You are inviting it to eat. You pour the liquid into a fermentation barrel. You cover it loosely. Now you wash. The brewing is done. The cleaning begins. The cauldron must be scrubbed again. The tub must be rinsed. The floor is sticky with spilled wort. Your boots stick to the packed earth with every step. Stick step. Stick step. You fetch more water. You scrub the floor with a stiff brush. You scrub until the stickiness is gone. You scrub until your hands are red and wrinkled from the water. You are exhausted. Your back aches. Your arms feel heavy like they are made of lead. But the work is done. The barrel sits in the corner. In a few hours you will hear it. The soft bubbling sound. The sound of life. Blup, blup, blup. It is the heartbeat of the hut. You sit on your stool. You eat a piece of the stale bread from the morning. You drink water. You stare at the fire. You do not think. You simply sit. The next day comes. The sun rises gray and pale. The air is damp. Today is the day of commerce. You must take what you have made to the village. You have the ale from the previous batch now fully fermented and ready in its jugs. You have the headache powder you made from the willow bark. You have a jar of the wound ointment. You pack your wares into a large wicker basket. You place straw between the clay jugs so they do not clink and break. You tuck the small jars of medicine into the pockets of your cloak. You lift the basket. It is awkward and heavy. You settle the strap over your shoulder. You open the door. You walk towards the village. The path is familiar. You know every route that crosses the trail. You know every low-hanging branch. You walk past the edge of the forest. You walk past the fields where the serfs are working. They are bent over hoeing the earth. They do not look up as you pass. They know who you are. They know the woman from the woods. You reach the village square. It is not a grand place. It is a patch of beaten earth between the blacksmith's shop and the miller's house. There are a few stalls set up. Planks of wood resting on barrels. The air here is different. In the forest, the air smells of pine and decay. Here the air smells of humanity. It smells of wood smoke and roasting meat. It smells of unwashed bodies and wet wool. It smells of horse manure and rotting vegetable peelings. It is a thick, busy smell. The sound is different too. There is no silence here. There is the clang of the blacksmith's hammer against the anvil. Clang, clang. It rings in your ears. There is the lowing of a cow. There is the shouting of children chasing a dog. There is the murmur of voices. You find your spot. It is a small corner near the well. You do not have a stall. You simply place your basket on the ground. You sit on a small wooden crate you bring with you. You arrange your wares. You set out 3 jugs of ale. You set out the small packets of willow bark wrapped in linen. You wait. Commerce is slow. It is not a rush. It is a waiting game. You watch the people pass. You see the miller's wife. She is wearing a blue kirtle that is stained with flour. She looks tired. She drags her feet. You see the blacksmith. His arms are black with soot. He wipes his forehead with the back of his hand. A man approaches you. It is Thomas the woodcutter. He has a rough beard and eyes that are squinted from looking at the sun. He nods to you. He does not smile. Smiles are for friends. This is business. Ale, he asks. His voice is like gravel. Ale, you answer. He reaches into his pouch. He pulls out a coin. It is a small, thin piece of silver clipped at the edges. It is dirty. He holds it out. You take it. The metal is warm from his hand. It is greasy. You rub it with your thumb. It has a rough texture. You put it in your pouch. You hand him a jug. The clay is cool and damp. He takes it. He pulls the cork with his teeth. He takes a long drink. He wipes his mouth with his sleeve. He nods again. He walks away. You wait. The sun moves across the sky. You watch the shadows lengthen. You feel the cold of the ground seeping up through the crate and into your bones. You wrap your cloak tighter around yourself. The wool is scratchy against your neck. A woman comes to you. It is Alara. She is young, but her face is lined with worry. She holds a baby in her arm. The baby is sleeping wrapped in a gray blanket. He has the heat, she says quietly. She means a fever. You look at the baby. His face is flushed. His breathing is shallow and fast. You reach into your basket. You take out a packet of the willow bark powder. Boil this, you say, in water. Let it cool. Give him a spoonful every hour. No more. She nods. She looks at the packet. She looks at you. There is fear in her eyes, but also trust. You are the only doctor she can afford. She hands you 3 eggs. They are brown and speckled. They are warm. This is her payment. You take the eggs. You place them carefully in your basket, nestling them in the straw where the jug used to be. Thank you, she whispers. She hurries away. You watch her go. You feel the weight of the eggs in the basket. You feel the weight of the responsibility. You gave her bark, just bark. But to her, it is hope. The afternoon drags on. The noise of the market begins to fade. The blacksmith stops hammering. The shouting children are called home for supper. The smell of cooking fires grows stronger. You have sold 2 jugs of ale. You have sold 1 packet of willow bark. You have traded for 3 eggs and a small bag of dried beans. It is enough. It is enough to keep you alive for another week. You pack your basket. It is lighter now, but your body is heavier. The day has drained you. You stand up. Your knees crack. You lift the basket. You begin the walk home. You leave the smells of the village behind. You leave the noise. You walk back towards the trees. As you enter the forest, the silence returns. It wraps around you like a soft blanket. The air becomes cool and clean again. You breathe deeply. You can smell the damp earth. You can smell the coming night. You reach your hut. You open the door. The fire has burned down to embers. The room is dim. You set the basket on the table. You are home. But the day is not over. The work of the healer is never truly over. There are always preparations. There are always things to tend. You walk to the shelf where you keep your most precious jars. The ones you do not take to the market. The ones you keep for the deep sicknesses or for the times when the village women need something stronger than prayer. You look at the jar of poppy syrup. You look at the dried nightshade berries. You check them for mold. You check the seals. These are dangerous friends. You treat them with respect. You turn away from the shelf. You feel a hunger in your stomach. You have not eaten since the bread in the morning. You take the eggs you earned. You take a small iron skillet. You place it on the embers. You put a small dab of lard in the pan. It melts quickly, sliding across the black iron. You crack 2 of the eggs. They sizzle loudly. The white turns opaque. The smell of frying eggs fills the small room. It is a rich, savory smell. You eat directly from the pan with a wooden spoon. The yolk is runny and hot. It coats your tongue. It tastes of richness and life. You eat slowly, savoring every bite. You wipe the pan clean with a piece of bread. You sit back. The hut is warm. The ale in the barrel in the corner bubbles softly. Blub. You are safe here. For now. But the world outside is changing. You saw it in the village today. You saw the way the priest looked at you when he crossed the square. He did not nod. He did not look away. He looked at you with eyes that were unreadable. He wore a new robe, black and crisp. He walked with a heavy step. You pushed the thought away. You are too tired for worry. Worry requires energy. You have used all your energy on the water and the wood and the walk. You stand up to prepare for the evening. You need to bank the fire so it lasts the night. You take the ash shovel. You cover the glowing coals with a thick layer of gray ash. This suffocates the fire just enough to keep it sleeping, but not dead. It will be easy to wake in the morning. The hut grows darker. The only light comes from the faint glow of the ash and the single tallow candle you light on the table. The flame flickers. It casts long dancing shadows against the walls. The bundles of dried herbs hanging from the rafters look like sleeping bats. You sit by the candle. You have one more task. A small task, a quiet task. You open a small wooden box. Inside are lengths of hemp cord, rough fiber string. You take a piece out. You are making a knot charm. A woman in the village asked for it. She is afraid of bad dreams. You hold the string in your hands. The fibers are coarse against your skin. You tie a knot. You pull it tight. You focus your mind. You think of safety. You think of a wall. You think of a shield. You tie another knot. And another. You do not say words. The magic is not in the words. The magic is in the intention. It is in the focus. It is in the rhythm of your fingers. Loop, pull, tighten. Loop, pull, tighten. The room is silent, except for the sound of your own breathing and the soft scratch of the rope. Loop, pull, tighten. Loop, pull, tighten. Your thumb presses against the hard lump of the knot. The hemp is stiff. It has been cured and dried, but it retains the memory of the field. It is coarse. It has small, scratchy fibers that catch against the skin of your fingertips. You do not mind the roughness. It is real. It is solid. You tie the final knot. 7 knots in total. 7 moments of focus frozen in the string. You hold the finished charm up to the candlelight. It casts a long, wavering shadow against the clay wall. To anyone else, it is just a piece of string with tangles in it. It looks like rubbish. It looks like something a child might discard. But you know the weight of it. You know the density of the thought that went into each pull. It is finished. You coil the string slowly. You wrap it around your 4 fingers. Over and over. A neat circle. You place it on the table. The wood of the table is scarred from years of chopping and grinding. The string sits there, quiet and brown. The candle is burning low. The wax is pooled around the wick, creating a small lake of liquid tallow. The flame is drowning in it. It flickers blue, then yellow, then blue again. It is time to rest. You do not blow it out. You pinch the wick with wet fingers. A quick hiss. A thin trail of gray smoke rises, twisting in the still air. The smell of extinguished tallow fills the small room. It is a heavy, greasy scent, the smell of the end of the day. You sit in the darkness for a moment. Your eyes adjust. The room is not truly black. There is the faint gray square of the window where the moonlight touches the oiled parchment. There's the orange glow of the embers in the hearth, breathing slowly under the layer of ash. You are tired. Your shoulders ache with a dull, familiar throb. It is a good ache. It is the ache of use. You stand up. Your knees crack. The sound is loud in the silence. You move to your pallet. The straw mattress rustles as you lie down. The wool blanket is heavy on your legs. You pull it up to your chin. You close your eyes. The house settles around you. The timber beams groan softly as they cool down from the day. You drift. Morning comes. It arrives not with sunlight, but with gray. The light filters through the cracks in the shutters, thin and watery. You open your eyes. The air in the hut is cold. It is a different kind of cold than before. It is sharper. It carries the taste of frost. The season is turning. The sun is retreating and the warmth is burying itself deep into the ground. You rise. The routine begins again. You stir the embers. You feed the fire. You watch the flames catch on the dry peat. But today feels different. Today is the day you must go to the village. You do not have ale to sell today. You do not have herbs to trade. You are going to listen. You wrap your cloak tight around you. It is old wool, felted thick by rain and time. It smells of wood smoke and lavender. You open the door. The air outside hits your face like a wet cloth. It is misty. The fog clings to the trees, obscuring the path. You walk. Your boots sink slightly into the mud. The mud is stiffening with the cold. It does not squelch today. It crunches softly. You walk towards the village. Usually, you hear the sounds of animals. The pigs rooting in the fallen nuts. The chickens scratching. Today, you hear something else. A bell. It is a deep, metallic sound. Clang. Pause. Clang. Pause. Clang. It is not the small, tinny bell of the goat herd. It is a massive voice of iron. It vibrates in your chest. It travels through the fog, cutting through the damp air. It calls. It commands. You reach the edge of the village. The houses are huddled together, their thatched roofs dark with moisture. Smoke rises from every chimney, blending with the fog. But the people are not in their yards. They are moving towards the center. They are moving towards the sound of the bell. You follow them. You keep your head down. You watch your boots moving over the cobblestones. You know these stones. You know which ones are loose. You know which ones gather water. You arrive at the square, and there it stands, the new church. It has been finished. For months, it was a skeleton of scaffolding and timber. Men covered in white dust worked on it, hammering and shouting. Now, the scaffolding is gone. The silence has returned. It is made of gray stone, blocks of granite, cut square and true. It is not like your hut, which grew from the earth. This building sits upon the earth, heavy and immovable. It is cold. Even looking at it makes you feel the chill. It has no softness. It has no curves. It is all lines and angles and height. The bell rings again from the tower. Clang. The sound is so loud it hurts your ears. It drowns out the wind. It drowns out the birds. It demands total attention. You walk towards the heavy oak doors. They are bound in iron straps. The iron is black and cold. You place your hand on the wood to push it open. It is heavy. It requires strength. You push. The door swings inward on massive hinges that do not creak. They are well-oiled. You step inside. The atmosphere changes instantly. The air inside is still, dead still. It is colder than the air outside. The stone walls hold the chill of the night and do not let it go. But it is not just the temperature. It is the smell. It does not smell of peat. It does not smell of roasting meat or sweat or animals. It smells of stone dust. It smells of damp plaster. And above all, it smells of frankincense. The scent is sweet. It is cloying. It is thick in the back of your throat. It is not a plant, you know. You cannot find it in the woods. It comes from far away, from hot lands of sand and sun. It is bought with silver. It is burned in brass censers that swing back and forth, puffing out clouds of white smoke. The smoke rises up into the high, vaulted ceiling. You stand at the back. The nave is long. The ceiling is so high it is lost in shadow. There are no benches. The floor is flagged with stone. The people of the village are standing or kneeling on the hard floor. They are quiet. They are facing the front. At the far end, there is light. Candles. Not tallow candles like yours. These are beeswax, pure and yellow. Dozens of them. They burn with a steady golden flame. They illuminate the altar. There is a man there, the priest. He is wearing robes of heavy fabric, velvet and linen, red and white. He has his back to you. He is facing the altar. He is speaking, but he is not speaking to the village. He is speaking to the stone. He is speaking to the air. He speaks in a language you do not understand. Latin. The words are long and rolling. They have a rhythm, but it is not the rhythm of a song. It is a drone. It is a monotone chant. Dominus, Spiritu, Sanctus. The words wash over you. They are hard and smooth like polished river stones. You try to catch a meaning, but they slip away. You look at your neighbors. The baker is there. The tanner is there. The miller is there. They are all looking forward. Their faces are blank. They do not understand the words either. They are simply listening to the sound of power. You feel a strange sensation in your stomach. It is not fear. It is displacement. In your hut, you are the center. You know the name of every dried leaf in every jar. You know the purpose of every tool. You understand the world because you touch it. You brew it. You taste it. Here, you are nothing. You are a spectator. The knowledge is locked away in the words you cannot speak, in the book on the altar that you cannot read. The priest turns around. He holds up a golden cup. The candlelight catches the metal. It flashes. The bell rings again. A small hand bell this time. Ting, ting. The people kneel. You hear the rustle of wool and linen as 100 knees hit the stone floor. You kneel too. The stone is freezing against your shins. It sucks the warmth from your blood. You look at your hands. They are resting on your lap. They are stained with walnut juice and soil. They are rough. They are the hands of a maker. You look at the priest's hands. They are pale. They are clean. They are holding the gold. He drinks. He wipes the cup with a white cloth. The ceremony goes on. It is slow. It is repetitive. Stand, kneel, stand, kneel. The incense smoke gets thicker. It makes your head swim slightly. It is heavy smoke. It is designed to make you docile, to make you quiet. The chanting continues. It is a wall of sound. It builds a barrier between the people and the mystery. You think of your own mysteries. The way willow bark eases a fever. The way honey heals a wound. These are mysteries you can hold. You can share them. You can teach a mother to brew the tea for her child. But this mystery is different. This mystery belongs to the building. It belongs to the man in the robes. It cannot be taken home. It cannot be brewed in a kettle. Finally, it ends. The priest says a final word. Amen. The people repeat it. Amen. The sound echoes in the cavernous space. It bounces off the stone walls, overlapping with itself until it fades into silence. The people stand up. They rub their knees. They turn to leave. The movement is slow. The spell of the stone room is breaking. The hum of conversation begins to rise, low and tentative at first, then louder as they reach the doors. You move with the crowd. You are carried along by the press of bodies. You step out through the heavy doors. The air outside feels shockingly fresh. It tastes of clean air and wet leaves. It clears the sweet, heavy smoke from your lungs. You take a deep breath. You feel the cold mist on your cheeks. You are back in the world of weather, the world of mud. You walk away from the church. You do not look back. You can feel its shadow behind you, a large gray block sitting on the heart of the village. You walk towards the edge of the woods. You need to touch a tree. You need to feel bark. You need to remind yourself of the living texture of the world. You find a birch tree. Its bark is peeling, papery, and white with black scars. You run your hand over it. It is cool, but not like the stone. It is alive. You can feel the moisture in it. You lean your forehead against the trunk. You close your eyes. The bell rings again. Clang. It marks the hour. It divides the day. Before, the day was divided by the sun, by the hunger in your belly, by the light fading. Now, the day is divided by the iron tongue. You push off from the tree. You have work to do. The world is changing. The structures are hardening, but the fever still burns hot. The stomach still aches. The babies are still born. And so, you are still needed. You walk back towards your hut. The path is familiar. Your feet know the way without your eyes. You think of the dried sage hanging in your rafters. You think of the jar of rendered fat. You think of the small, quiet magic of your hearth. It feels smaller now. It feels fragile, but it is yours. You reach your door. You open it. The smell of your home rushes out to meet you. It smells of dried herbs, of old wood, of you. You step inside and close the door. You slide the wooden bolt into place. The silence of the hut is different from the silence of the church. The church silence was empty. It was waiting to be filled. The hut's silence is full. It is full of memory. You walk to your table. You see the coil of hemp string you left there. The knot charm. You pick it up. You run your thumb over the knots again. Loop. Pull. Tighten. It is a small protection. A very small protection, but you hold it tight. You have a new task for the afternoon. You need to check your stores. You need to count your jars. You need to know exactly what you have. The instinct to prepare is rising in you. It is the instinct of the squirrel before the snow. You move to the shelves on the far wall. They are made of dark oak planks, warped with age. They are lined with ceramic jars, clay pots, and linen sacks. You take down the first jar. It is heavy earthenware, sealed with a disc of wood and a rim of beeswax. You break the seal. You lift the lid. Inside is dried St. John's wort. The yellow flowers have turned brown, but they still hold the smell of high summer. The smell of sunshine trapped in dead petals. You sniff it. It is good. No mold. No damp. You seal it again. You place it back. You take down the next jar. Comfrey root. hard black chunks of root, like pieces of coal. You shake the jar. They rattle against the clay. Clack, clack, clack. A dry, bony sound. They are good for knitting bones, for healing deep bruises. You have enough for the winter. You place it back. You work your way along the shelf. The rhythm takes you. Lift, check, smell, seal, replace. Lift, check, smell, seal, replace. Your movements are efficient. You do not waste energy. The afternoon light begins to slant through the window. It is golden and dusty. It illuminates the motes of dust dancing in the air. You are counting your allies. Each jar is an ally. Each root is a friend. You reach the back of the bottom shelf. There is a small, dark jar there. It is pushed into the shadows. You pull it out. It is covered in a fine layer of gray dust. You wipe it with your sleeve. The glaze is dark green. You know what is inside without opening it. You feel a slight hesitation in your fingers. This is the henbane, the sleeper, the dreamer. It is powerful. It is dangerous. You do not open it. You do not need to check it. It does not spoil. It waits. You push it back into the shadows. Deep into the corner. You stand back. The shelves are full. You are prepared. But prepared for what? The question hangs in the air, unanswered. You turn away from the shelves. The fire has burned down to embers again. The day has passed in a blur of gray stone and dry roots. You feel the fatigue in your legs. Standing on the stone floor of the church has made your joints stiff. You need warmth. You kneel by the hearth. You place a new log on the fire. It is birch. The bark catches quickly, curling and blackening, hissing as the sap boils. You hold your hands out to the flame. You watch the skin turn pink with the heat. You feel the blood returning to your fingertips. You stay there for a long time, just watching the fire. Fire is the same everywhere. The fire in your hearth is the same as the fire on the altar candles. It consumes. It gives light. It warms. It is the one thing you share with the stone building. The fire does not judge. The fire does not speak Latin. It just burns. You take a deep breath. You let your shoulders drop. The evening is coming. The light is failing. The shadows in the corners of the room are stretching out, reaching for the center of the floor. You are safe here, for now. You are warm here, for now. The bell in the village is silent. Only the crackle of the wood speaks to you. You sit on the low stool until the heat in the hearth begins to fade. The flames have done their work. They have eaten the wood down to the core, leaving only glowing red cubes that pulse with a faint breathing light. It is time to bank the fire. This is not a choice. It is a necessity. If the fire dies completely, the morning will be too cold, and the task of striking a new spark with flint and steel is too long for frozen fingers. You must keep the heart of the heat alive while the rest of the world sleeps. You reach for the iron shovel. The handle is smooth from years of use. It fits into your palm like a familiar hand. You scoop up the gray ash from the edges of the hearth. The ash is soft. It is light. It floats in the air like dust motes in a sunbeam, though there is no sun now. You sprinkle the ash over the glowing coals. You do this gently. You do not want to smother them. You only want to blanket them. You are putting the fire to bed. You watch as the bright red glow is swallowed by the gray dust. The light in the room dims. The shadows that were stretching out from the corners now rush in to fill the space. The room becomes small again. The room becomes dark. You stand up. Your knees crack in the silence. The air in the hut is already cooling. You can feel the draft finding its way through the chinks in the daub, through the gaps in the thatch. The cold is a living thing. It waits outside the door. It presses against the wood. It wants to come in. You move to your bed in the corner. It is a simple frame, raised off the earth to keep away the damp and the rats. The mattress is filled with straw. You hear the straw rustle as you sit down. It is a dry, crisp sound. It smells of the summer fields, a faint memory of yellow sun and high grass, trapped inside the ticking. You pull the heavy wool blanket up to your chin. The wool is scratchy. It catches on the rough skin of your hands. It smells of sheep and lanolin. It is heavy. The weight of it is comforting. It presses you down into the straw. It holds you there. You lie on your back and stare up into the darkness. You cannot see the thatch roof above you, but you know it is there. You know every bundle of reeds, every knot of rope. You listen to the house. The wood groans as it cools. The beams contract. Somewhere in the thatch, a mouse scurries. Its feet are tiny light, tapping against the dry reeds. It is looking for warmth, just like you. You close your eyes. The darkness behind your eyelids is the same as the darkness in the room. Your breathing slows. You breathe in the smell of wood smoke and dried herbs. You breathe out the fatigue of the day. The rhythm of your breath matches the rhythm of the wind. Outside, in out, in out. The boundary between you and the room begins to blur. You are just another object in the dark. You are safe. You are warm. You sleep. The morning comes slowly. There is no sudden burst of light. There's only a gradual shift from black to gray. The air in the hut is freezing. You can see your breath puffing out in white clouds before your face. You do not want to move. You want to stay under the heavy wool, where the heat of your body has created a small, warm cave. But the day does not wait. The animals need to be fed. The fire needs to be woken. You push the blanket aside. The cold air hits your skin like a slap. It is a sharp, biting cold. You swing your legs over the edge of the bed. Your feet touch the packed earth floor. The floor is hard. The floor is ice cold. The sensation travels up your legs, waking every muscle, tightening every tendon. You stand and walk quickly to the hearth. You shiver. Your hands shake slightly as you take the iron poker and stir the pile of ash. Beneath the gray dust, the coals are still there. They are small, dark red eyes blinking in the gray face of the ash. They are alive. You place a handful of dried birch twigs on top of them. You blow gently. The ash flies up into your face, tasting of chalk and burnt wood. The coals glow brighter. A thin line of smoke rises. Then a small yellow flame catches the birch bark. It crackles. It snaps. The sound is loud in the quiet morning. The fire is awake. You dress in layers. A linen shift, thick and stiff. A woolen kirtle, dyed a deep brown with walnut husks. A heavy shawl wrapped around your shoulders. You tie your boots. The leather is stiff with the cold. You have to work the laces through the holes with numb fingers. You open the door of the hut. The world outside is white. Frost has coated everything. The thatch of your roof looks like silver needles. The bare branches of the oak tree are traced in white. The mud of the path is frozen solid. It does not squelch under your boots today. It is as hard as stone. The ridges of the footprints from yesterday are frozen in place, a memory of movement trapped in the earth. You walk carefully. The ground is uneven. Your boots make a hollow clopping sound on the frozen mud. You are going to the village. You need salt. You need thread. And you have heard that a merchant has come. A wagon arrived late yesterday, creaking and groaning under the weight of goods from the south. The village is usually a closed circle, but sometimes the line breaks. Sometimes the outside world rolls in on wooden wheels. You walk down the path. The air smells of snow that has not yet fallen. It smells of metallic iron and whetstone. The trees stand like sentinels on either side of the road. They are silent. Their leaves are gone, rotted into the earth. They are waiting. Everything is waiting. You reach the village square. It is not crowded, but there is movement. People are gathered around a cart parked near the well. The horse that pulled it is standing with its head down, eating from a nosebag. Steam rises from its flanks. The cart is covered with a canvas tarp, pulled back to reveal the treasures inside. You approach slowly. You stay at the edge of the circle. You watch. The merchant is a man with a red face and a beard that looks like tangled wire. He's wearing a coat of good wool, trimmed with fur that you do not recognize. He is talking. His voice is loud. It booms across the square, bouncing off the stone walls of the church. He is selling ribbons. He's selling needles made of polished steel. He's selling spices in small glass jars. You step closer, you can smell the cart. It smells of dust and travel. It smells of exotic things. Cloves, cinnamon, things that grow in hot lands you will never see. Things that have traveled thousands of miles to sit here in the freezing mud of your village. But there is something else on the cart. In a wooden crate, protected from the damp, there are objects wrapped in leather. They are rectangular. They are flat. They are books. You have seen books before. The old priest had a Bible. It was huge, heavy, bound in cracked leather. He kept it on the altar. He turned the pages with reverence. Those pages were parchment, made from the skin of sheep. They were thick. They were uneven. The words on them were written by hand, the letters flowing and curling like vines. These books are different. You watch as the merchant lifts one up. He holds it with one hand. It is smaller. It is lighter. He opens it. The pages are not the creamy yellow of parchment. They are white. They are thin. They make a sharp, dry, rasping sound as he turns them. Sh, sh, chashka. You move closer. You want to see. You look at the open page. The letters are black. They are small, and they are perfect. Every letter A is exactly the same as every other letter. Every E is a clone of the one before it. There is no variation. There is no hand of a scribe here. There is no ink blot, no waver in the line where a hand grew tired. The letters stand in straight, rigid rows. They look like soldiers standing in formation. They look like a fence made of iron bars. Paper? You have heard the word. Made from rags, boiled and pressed and dried. It is dead matter. Parchment was skin. Parchment had a life before it became a page. Paper is just pulp. It has no memory of blood or bone. The merchant is saying something about the press. He says these words were stamped by a machine that bites the paper with metal teeth covered in ink. He says this is the future. He says that knowledge can now travel faster than a horse. He says that soon, everyone will have these blocks of white leaves. You stare at the black blocks of text. You cannot read the Latin words, but you can feel their weight. They look heavy. They look final. When you speak a word, it disappears into the air. It changes with the wind. It changes with the memory of the listener. But these words are trapped. They are pinned down like dried beetles on a board. They cannot change. They cannot breathe. The merchant holds the book up high. The hammer, he says. He calls it a hammer. Malleus. You know that word. A tool for striking. A tool for crushing. You look at the cover. It is dark leather, simple and unadorned. It does not look like a weapon. It looks like a box for holding silence, a box for holding rules. You feel a coldness that has nothing to do with the frost. It starts in your stomach and spreads to your fingertips. The world you know is a world of textures and smells. It is a world of messy, organic truths. It is a world where a fever is treated with cool water and willow bark, where the cure changes depending on the moon and the patient. It is a fluid world. This book represents a solid world, a world of definitions, a world where things are either black or white, just like the ink in the paper. There is no gray in that book. There is no dawn. There is no dusk. There is only the harsh light of absolute definition. You step back. You wrap your shawl tighter around yourself. The wool feels rough and real against your neck. You look at your hands. They are red with the cold. There is dirt under your fingernails. There is a callus on your thumb from the pestle. Your hands are maps of your work. They tell the story of your life in scars and stains. The book has no scars. It is perfect. It is cold. You turn away from the cart. You do not buy the salt. You do not buy the thread. You do not want to trade with this man. You want to go back to the woods. You want to be where things are growing, dying, rotting, and rebirthing. You want to be away from the straight lines. You walk back up the path. The wind has picked up. It rattles the bare branches of the trees. Click-clack, click-clack, like the sound of the printing press, like the sound of bones. You walk with your head down. You watch your boots breaking the frost. You focus on the sound of your own footsteps. Thud, thud. This is a real sound. This is a sound made by a living body moving through a living world. You reach the edge of the forest. You stop. You place your hand on the trunk of a birch tree. The bark is white and papery, peeling away in thin, curling strips. You touch it. It is cool and smooth. But under the paper bark, there is wood. There is sap. There is life sleeping, waiting for the spring. You peel off a small strip of the birch bark. You roll it between your fingers. It crumbles. It is fragile. You think of the paper in the book. It did not crumble. It was strong. It was unnatural. You walk back to your hut. The smoke is rising from your chimney, a thin gray line against the gray sky. It wavers in the wind. It bends. It dissipates. It is not straight. It is not rigid. It is like you. You open the door. The warmth of the room hits you. It smells of the fire you built. It smells of the herbs drying in the rafters. Sage, thyme, mugwort. You breathe it in deep. You fill your lungs with the scent of the earth. You close the door behind you. You slide the wooden bolt into place. Thump. You are inside. The book is outside. For now, there is a wall between you. For now, there is wood and stone between you and the black letters. You go to the table. You have work to do. You have dried nettles that need to be crushed. You take the mortar and pestle. You pour the dried leaves into the stone bowl. They are brittle. They are green and gray. You take the heavy stone pestle in your hand. You begin to grind. Scrape, scrape. The sound fills the room. It is a rhythmic, comforting sound. It is the sound of breaking things down to make them useful. It is the opposite of the printing press. You are not building rigid lines. You are making dust. You are making powder. You are releasing the spirit of the plant into the air. You grind the nettles. You watch them turn from leaves into a fine green flower. The smell is sharp and grassy. It smells like a meadow in June. It smells like life. You focus on the motion of your arm. Round and round. Scrape. Scrape. You do not think about the merchant. You do not think about the white pages. You think about the nettles. You think about how they sting when they are fresh, how they protect themselves, how they burn the skin. But when they are dried, the sting is gone. Only the medicine remains. You work for a long time. The light in the room changes as the day passes. The gray light at the window fades to a dull purple, then to blue, then to black. You light a candle. The flame flickers. It casts long, dancing shadows on the walls. The shadows are not straight lines. They are fluid. They are shapeshifters. You finish the nettles. You pour the powder into a clay jar. You seal it with a cork. You place it on the shelf with the others. A row of jars. Not a row of soldiers. A row of friends. You are tired. The walk to the village has drained you. The cold has settled in your bones. You need something warm. You go to the hearth. You hang a small iron pot on the hook over the fire. You pour in water from the bucket. You add a handful of dried elderberries. You add a stick of cinnamon, a remnant from a purchase, long ago. You wait for the water to boil. You watch the bubbles form on the bottom of the pot. Small silver pearls. They grow. They rise. They burst. You listen to the water singing. Hiss. Bubble. Pop. You sit on the stool. You stare at the fire again. The cycle continues. Morning to night. Cold to warm. Walking to sitting. The repetition is your anchor. It holds you in place while the world tries to spin. You drink the elderberry tea. It is tart and sweet. It warms your throat. It warms your chest. You feel the heat spreading to your fingers and toes. You hold the clay mug with both hands. The clay is rough. It is warm. It is real. You finish the tea. You set the mug down. You look around your hut. It is small. It is humble, but it is yours. It is a place of making, a place of healing. You know that the winter is coming, the deep winter, the time of long nights and short days, the time when the snow piles high against the door and the world goes silent. You are ready. You have your wood. You have your herbs. You have your fire. But you also know that something else is coming. Something colder than the snow. Something harder than the ice. You felt it in the square. You saw it in the black ink. A new season is approaching. A season of paper and laws. A season where the old ways, the messy, oral, fluid ways, will be frozen out. You do not know when it will arrive fully. Maybe not this winter. Maybe not the next. But it is on the road. It is in the cart. It is printed on the page. You stand up. You must bank the fire again. The cycle must be maintained. You take the shovel. You scoop the ash. You cover the coals. The light dies down. The shadows return. You go to your bed. You lie down. You pull the scratchy wool blanket up. You listen to the wind. It is howling now. It is shaking the door. It sounds like a voice. 1,000 voices. You close your eyes. You try to remember the smell of the nettles. Green, sharp, alive. You hold that smell in your mind. You use it as a shield against the image of the black letters. You breathe in. You breathe out. You drift. The days that follow are all the same. The sky remains a flat, unmoving sheet of gray steel. The sun is a pale, distant coin that offers no heat, only a feeble, watery light that barely penetrates the canopy of the forest. You move through these days like a ghost in your own home. The routine is your liturgy. You wake. You break the ice on the water bucket. You light the fire. You eat the hard bread. You work. One afternoon, you decide to check the root cellar. It is a small pit dug into the earth behind the hut, lined with stones and covered with a heavy wooden door covered in turf. This is where you keep the vegetables that must last until spring. Turnips, carrots, parsnips, beets. You walk around the back of the hut. The ground is hard. The grass is brown and dead, crunching under your feet. You pull the handle of the cellar door. It is heavy. The wood is swollen with damp. It resists you. You pull harder. With a sucking sound of mud and wet wood, it opens. A smell wafts up to you. It is the smell of the deep earth. Damp, sweet, musty. It smells of soil and resting life. You climb down the short wooden ladder into the dark. It is warmer down here. The earth holds its temperature. It is a constant 50 degrees, no matter if the world above is freezing or burning. You light a tallow candle. The flame sputters, then steadies. You look at your stores. The turnips are piled in a corner, covered in straw. They are round and purple-topped. They look like smooth stones. You pick one up. It is solid. It is heavy. You scrape a bit of dirt off the skin with your thumb. The skin is tough. Inside, the flesh is white and crisp. You check the carrots. They are buried in a box of sand to keep them from shriveling. You dig your hand into the sand. The grains are cold and coarse. They slide between your fingers. You feel the long, tapered shape of a carrot. You pull it out. It is a pale yellow in the candlelight. It is the color of old parchment. You check the onions hanging from the ceiling in mesh bags. Their skins are dry and papery. They rustle as you brush past them. Crinkle. Hush. Everything here is sleeping. The vegetables are not dead. They are dormant. They are waiting. If you planted this turnip in the spring, it would grow new leaves. It would make seeds. It has a future locked inside it. You select 3 turnips and a handful of carrots for your stew. You put them in your apron pocket. You feel their weight against your hip. You climb back up the ladder. You emerge into the gray afternoon. The air smells of snow again. Heavier this time. Closer. You walk back to the hut. You wash the vegetables in a basin of water. The water turns brown with the earth. You take your knife. It is a small knife with a wooden handle and a blade worn thin by years of sharpening. You begin to peel the turnips. The knife slices through the tough skin. Schlick, schlick. The white flesh is revealed. It is wet and shiny. You chop the turnips into cubes. The sound of the knife hitting the wooden cutting board is rhythmic. Chop, chop, chop. You are a maker of small things. Small meals, small cures, small comforts. Your life is a collection of these small movements. There is no grand narrative here. There is no great battle. There is only the vegetable, the knife, and the pot. You put the vegetables into the pot with water and a piece of salt pork. You hang it over the fire. Soon, the smell of cooking fills the room. It is a savory, salty smell. It pushes back the smell of the cold. You sit and wait for the stew to cook. You have time. You always have time. You take a piece of linen cloth from your basket. You are mending a tear in your cloak. You thread a needle. The eye of the needle is small. You have to squint. Your hands are steady. You push the thread through. You tie a knot. You push the needle through the heavy wool of the cloak. It takes force. You wear a leather thimble on your thumb to push it. Push, pull, push, pull. The thread creates a series of small, tight stitches. You are closing the gap. You are making the fabric whole again. You think about the village again. You have not been back since the day of the merchant. You have not seen the book again, but you know it is there. You imagine it sitting on a table in the house of the priest. You imagine the pages lying flat. You imagine the black letters staring up at the ceiling, unblinking. Does the priest read it at night? Does he sit by his candle and murmur the Latin words? Maleficarum, witches. The word feels strange in your mind. It is a label, a box. You are not a witch. You are just you. You are the woman who knows which mushrooms will kill and which will fill a belly. You are the woman who knows how to turn willow bark into pain relief. You are the woman who knows how to birth a calf. These are verbs. These are actions. Witch is a noun. It is a static thing. It is a name given by someone else. You pull the thread tight. You bite the end to cut it. The taste of the thread is fibrous and dry. You smooth the mend with your thumb. It is a little lump in the fabric, but it is strong. It will hold. The stew bubbles. The lid of the pot rattles gently. Clink, 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 clink. The steam escaping smells of cooked turnips. A humble smell. A peasant smell. You stand up and stir the pot. The spoon is wood. It swirls through the thick broth. The vegetables are soft now. They have given their essence to the water. The water has become broth. The pork has given its fat. Everything has changed. Everything has become something else. This is your chemistry. This is your magic. Transformation. Nothing stays the same. The hard turnip becomes soft. The clear water becomes rich. The cold room becomes warm. You ladle the stew into a wooden bowl. You take a spoon. You sit. You eat. The food is hot. It burns your tongue slightly, but it is a good burn. It travels down your throat, a warm slug of life. You can feel it settling in your stomach. You can feel the energy of the earth, the sun that grew the turnip, the rain that watered the carrot, transferring into you. You are eating the summer in the middle of winter. You eat slowly. You scrape the bottom of the bowl. You wipe it clean with a piece of dry bread. You eat the bread. Nothing is wasted. The evening draws in. The window is a square of black ink. The wind has stopped. The silence is absolute. It is a heavy silence. It feels like the world is holding its breath. You feel a strange urge. You go to the shelf where you keep your most precious ingredients. The jars are there. The dried frog skins. The poppy seeds. The henbane. You reach for a small jar at the back. It is made of blue glass, very old. You do not know where it came from. It was the jar of your grandmother. Inside, there are seeds. Small, black, shiny seeds. Belladonna, deadly nightshade. You do not open the jar. You just hold it. The glass is cold. The seeds rattle softly inside. Shh. These seeds are death. A handful would stop a heart. A few would bring madness. But a tiny amount brings sleep. A tiny amount stops pain. It is a balance. It is a razor blade edge. You hold death in your hand, and you use it to serve life. That is the truth of your existence. You are a gatekeeper. The book in the village does not understand this. The book says poison is evil. The book says the woman who holds the poison is evil. The book does not know about the dosage. The book does not know about the mercy of a painless end for a suffering child. The book only knows black and white. You put the blue jar back on the shelf. You push it deep into the shadows. You want it hidden. You do not want the straight lines to find the blue glass. You feel a sudden exhaustion. It is not just physical tired. It is a weariness of the soul. The weight of the coming winter, the weight of the book, the weight of the silence. It all presses down on your shoulders. You undress. You blow out the candle. The smell of hot wax and smoke hangs in the air for a moment, then vanishes. You climb into bed. The straw rustles. The wool blanket is heavy. You lie in the dark. You are waiting for sleep. But your mind is still walking the path to the village. Your mind is still seeing the cart of the merchant. You force yourself to stop. You force yourself to return to the room, to the sensory now. You feel the rough linen of your pillow against your cheek. You feel the cold air touching the tip of your nose. You hear the settling of the house. You hear the blood rushing in your ears. Whoosh, whoosh. You focus on your feet. They are cold. You rub them together. You feel the friction. You feel the slow return of warmth. You focus on your knees, your hips, your spine. You let each part of you sink into the straw. You let go of the tension. You are here. You are safe. The door is bolted. The fire is banked. The roots are in the cellar. The herbs are in the jars. You are the keeper of the hut. You are the watcher of the woods. You are the silence between the trees. You drift. The darkness takes you. It is a soft velvet darkness. It wraps around you like a second blanket. It has no words. It has no letters. It is just peace. And in the morning the snow begins. It starts as a few stray flakes, drifting down lazily from the iron sky. You see them when you open the shutter. They are large and feathery. They land on the frozen mud and do not melt. They sit there, perfect white stars on the brown earth. Then, more come. They fall faster. They fill the air. The world behind them disappears. The trees become gray ghosts. The path vanishes. The horizon is erased. You stand at the window and watch. The silence of the snow is different from the silence of the night. It is a muffled silence, a padded silence. The snow absorbs sound. It swallows the world. You watch the ground turn white. The brown mud is gone. The gray rocks are gone. The world is being smoothed out. All the rough edges are being covered. All the details are being erased. It is beautiful. It is terrifying. It is inevitable. You close the shutter. You turn back to the fire. You are sealed in now. The winter has truly begun. The village is far away. The book is far away. There is only you and the fire and the white silence outside. You pick up your broom. It is made of birch twigs tied to a hazel stick. You begin to sweep the floor. Swish, swish. The dust moves before the broom. The rhythm soothes you. You sweep the hearth. You sweep the corners. You are cleaning your space. You are tending your sanctuary. You sweep. You breathe. You exist. The snow falls. The fire burns. The time passes. And you wait. You wait for the deep winter to settle. You wait for the long nights. You wait for the stories to begin. Because in the winter, when the work of the fields is done, the work of the memory begins. You lean the broom against the wall. You sit. You close your eyes. You listen to the fire. Crackle. Pop. You are ready. You sit for a long time. The fire warms your knees. The heat creates a small invisible wall against the draft that seeps through the cracks in the door. You look at the shelves along the far wall. They are filled with jars. They are filled with bundles of dried herbs hanging from the rafters. They are filled with the tools of your life. But the air in the village has changed. The wind carries a different scent now. It is not just the smell of snow. It is the smell of caution. It is the smell of silence. You know what you must do. It is not an act of fear. It is an act of preservation. You are a squirrel hiding nuts for a winter that may last for years. You are a bear preparing for a long hibernation. You stand up slowly. Your joints pop in the quiet room. You walk to the shelf where the most potent jars sit. These are the jars you do not sell in the market. These are the jars you do not show to the priest. These are the jars of henbane, of nightshade, of the deep dark roots that stop a heart or start a sleep. You reach out. You touch the cold ceramic of the first jar. It is heavy. The clay is rough under your fingertips. It was fired in the village kill 10 years ago. It is a part of the earth. You take it down. You hold it with both hands. You feel the contents shift inside. The dry rattle of seeds against the clay walls is the only sound. You place the jar on the table. You go back. You take down the next one. This one is smaller. It contains the rendered fat mixed with the juice of the hemlock. It is sealed with a cork. You place it next to the first. You continue this work. You select the items that are too misunderstood to be left in the open. You select the items that belong to the shadow and not the light. You gather them. There are 5 jars. There is a small pouch of leather containing stones with holes in them. There is a bundle of dried mugwort tied with a red thread. You arrange them on the table. They look like a still life painting. They are brown and gray and quiet. You need to seal them. You need to ensure the damp earth does not rot them. You take a block of beeswax from the cupboard. It is yellow and hard. It smells of summer meadows and sunlight. It smells of a time when the world was warm. You place the wax in a small iron pot. You hang the pot over the fire. You wait. You watch the wax. At first, nothing happens. The wax sits there solid and stubborn. Then slowly the edges begin to soften. A pool of liquid gold forms at the bottom of the pot. The smell intensifies. The scent of warm honey fills the room, masking the smell of the smoke. It is a sweet, heavy scent. It coats the back of your throat. You watch the wax melt. It becomes a clear amber liquid. It ripples when you bump the table. You take the first jar. You check the cork. It is tight. You dip the neck of the jar into the hot wax. You hold it there. You count to 3. 1, 2, 3. You lift the jar. The wax drips from the rim. It cools instantly in the chilly air of the room. It turns from clear to opaque. It creates a thick yellow seal over the cork. You do this again. You dip. You lift. You wait. You are sealing the jar against time. You are sealing it against moisture. You are sealing it against the eyes of others. You repeat this for every jar. Dip. Lift. Cool. Dip. Lift. Cool. The rhythm is steady. Your hand is steady. You are calm. This is just another task. It is no different than preserving plums or salting meat. It is simply work that must be done. When the jars are sealed, you find a wooden crate. It is old and sturdy. You line the bottom with straw. The straw is dry and yellow. It rustles as you press it down. You place the jars into the crate. You nestle them into the straw so they do not touch. You pack more straw around them. You cover them completely. Now the crate looks like it holds nothing but dry grass. You put on your cloak. It is heavy wool dyed a dark gray. It smells of lanolin and wood smoke. You wrap it tight around your shoulders. You put on your mittens. They are thick and clumsy. You pick up the shovel that stands by the door. The handle is smooth ash wood polished by years of your grip. The metal blade is cold. You pick up the crate. It is heavy. You balance it against your hip. You open the door. The cold hits you like a physical blow. It is sharp and biting. It instantly numbs your cheeks. The wind has died down, but the air is frozen still. The sky is a flat iron gray. It is late afternoon, and the light is already failing. The snow in the yard is deep. It reaches past your ankles. You step out. Your boots crunch loudly in the snow. Crunch, crunch. The sound is deafening in the silence. The village is quiet. No one is on the road. Smoke rises straight up from the chimneys of your neighbor's thin gray lines against the gray sky. They are inside. They are warm. You are outside. You are working. You walk to the edge of your garden. There is an old oak tree there. Its branches are bare and black, reaching up like skeletal fingers. The bark is rough and deeply furrowed. You know this tree. You have known it all your life. Its roots go deep. It will protect what you bury. You set the crate down in the snow. You take the shovel. You clear a space at the base of the trunk. The snow is light and powdery here. You sweep it aside. You reveal the ground. The earth is dark and frozen. You begin to dig. The ground resists you. The frost has gone deep. You have to put your weight on the shovel. You press your foot onto the metal rim. You push. The earth cracks. You lift a clod of frozen dirt. It is heavy and hard like stone. You toss it aside. You dig. You lift. You toss. You dig. You lift. You toss. Your breath comes in white clouds. It freezes on the woolen scarf wrapped around your face. You feel the heat building inside your coat, contrasting with the biting cold on your nose. Your shoulders ache with the effort. This is good. The pain is grounding. The pain tells you that you are alive. You dig a hole that is deep. It goes past the frost line. The smell of the earth changes as you go deeper. The sharp smell of ice gives way to the damp, loamy smell of soil. It smells of worms and roots and sleeping life. It is the smell of the grave and the smell of the womb. They are the same smell. You stop. You lean on the shovel. You look at the hole. It is a black square in the white world. It is ready. You pick up the wooden crate. You lower it gently into the earth. It fits perfectly. It settles into the bottom of the hole with a soft thud. You look at it one last time. You are saying goodbye to these tools. You are saying goodbye to this part of your life. But you are not destroying it. You are keeping it safe. You begin to fill the hole. You shovel the dirt back in. It covers the wood. It covers the straw. The crate disappears. The ground becomes flat again. You stomp on the dirt to pack it down. You make it solid. You make it firm. Then you take the snow you cleared aside. You shovel it back over the bare earth. You smooth it out. You use the back of the shovel to erase your marks. You step back. The ground looks undisturbed. The snow is white and unbroken. The tree stands silent. No one would know. No one would guess that beneath the roots lies the knowledge of 3 generations. It is safe. It rests in the cold dark. You turn back to the hut. The cold is seeping through your boots now. Your toes are numb. You walk back through your own footprints. You step into the holes you made on the way out. You retrace your path. You enter the hut. You close the door. You drop the heavy wooden latch. The sound echoes. Thud. You are inside. The air is still. The fire has burned down to red coals. You are shivering. You take off your wet boots. You take off the heavy cloak. You hang them by the door. You go to the hearth. You add a log to the fire. It is a piece of seasoned birch. The bark catches quickly. It curls and blackens. The yellow flame leaps up. You hold your hands out to the fire. Your fingers are red and stiff. You rub them together. You feel the blood returning. It tingles. It stings slightly. You are safe. You have done the work. The days pass. The winter deepens. The solstice arrives. This is the shortest day. The sun barely lifts its head above the horizon. It is a pale, watery disk that offers no heat. The light is weak and blue. The shadows are long even at noon. The world feels like it is holding its breath. You do not go out today. There is no need. You have your wood. You have your water. You have your dried beans and your salted pork. You have your flour. You are self-sufficient. The village is buried under 3 feet of snow. The drifts lie against the walls of your hut, insulating it. The snow blocks the lower half of your window. The light inside is dim and diffuse. It is a cave of comfort. You spend the day in small motions. You stir the pot. You mend a tear in your skirt. You grind oats for porridge. The sound of the grinding is the only sound in the world. Grind, grind, grind. The stones rub together. The grain turns to powder. It is a hypnotic sound. It is the sound of survival. You watch the light fade. It happens early. By mid-afternoon, the corners of the room are dark. By late afternoon, the window is a square of black ink. The night has come, the longest night of the year. This is the night the old stories say the sun dies and is reborn. You do not know if that is true. You only know that it is cold. You only know that the darkness is absolute. You light a candle. It is a tallow candle made from animal fat. It smells faintly of mutton. The flame is small and steady. It pushes back the shadows, but only a little. The darkness presses against the circle of light. You sit at your table. You have a cup of hot water with a little honey in it. You hold the cup with both hands. The steam rises into your face. It moistens your skin. It warms your nose. You take a sip. It is sweet and hot. It travels down your throat, a warm path through the center of your body. You listen to the house. The wood settles in the cold. The beams creak. The thatch groans under the weight of the snow. These are familiar sounds. They are the sounds of a house that is protecting you. They're sounds of a house that is protecting you. You think about the seeds sleeping in the garden under the snow. They are frozen. They are hard as pebbles. But they are not dead. Inside each seed is a map of a leaf, a map of a stem, a map of a flower. They are waiting. They are patient. You must be like the seeds. You must be patient. You must wait for the wheel to turn. You look at your hands. They are rough. The skin is dry from the cold. The knuckles are swollen. These hands have delivered babies. They have set bones. They have mixed poisons and cures. Now they rest. They lie flat on the wooden table. They do nothing. Doing nothing is hard for you. You are used to motion. You are used to the pestle and the knife and the spoon. But the winter demands stillness. The winter demands rest. If you fight the winter, you lose. You must yield to it. You must become slow. You must become heavy. You stare at the candle flame. It flickers when you breathe. It dances, blue at the base, yellow at the tip. You watch the melted tallow run down the side of the candle. It hardens into a white tear. You are alone, but you are not lonely. Loneliness is a hunger. Solitude is a meal. You are full. You are filled with the quiet. You are filled with the knowledge that you have survived another year. You have done what was needed. The night stretches on. It is a vast ocean of time. There is no clock to mark the hours. There is only the burning down of the candle. There is only the slow consumption of the log in the fire. You measure time in inches of wax and pounds of wood. Your eyes grow heavy. The rhythm of your heart slows down. Thump, thump. It matches the slow pulse of the earth. You are part of this room. You are part of this winter. You stand up. You blow out the candle. The smell of the extinguished wick sharp and acrid hangs in the air for a moment. The room goes dark, lit only by the red glow of the embers in the hearth. You walk to your bed. It is a wooden frame filled with straw tickings. It is covered with furs and wool blankets. You lie down. You pull the covers up to your chin. The bed is cold at first. You curl your body into a ball. You trap your own heat. Slowly the bed warms up. You lie in the dark. You listen to the wind rise outside. It whistles around the corners of the hut. It tries to get in, but it cannot. You are safe. You are warm. You close your eyes. You let your mind drift. You do not think of the priest. You do not think of the village. You do not think of the spring. You think only of the dark. The soft velvet dark. It wraps around you. It holds you. You breathe in. You breathe out. The longest night is here, and you are ready to sleep through it. You are ready to let the world turn without you for a while. You drift. You float. You rest. And as you sleep, the snow continues to fall. It covers your roof. It covers your path. It covers the place where the jars are buried. It makes the world moo. It makes the world blank. It wipes the slate clean.